The first time I met Li Yin was in the living room of my best friend, Li Yin's home. He was sitting on the sofa, speaking to me in the caring tone a big brother would use when asking about his little sister. Seriously now, tell me the truth, has that girl of yours, Li Yan, been dating anyone at school? I shook my head and said no. He let out a thoughtful, then fixed his gaze on me, a playful smile flickering in his eyes. So, have you been dating anyone? My cheeks flushed hot, and I lowered my eyelashes. I haven't either. He gave a soft hum, then casually leaned a bit closer, and a faint scent of cedar wafted toward me. Li is Lian, my best friend's older brother, and HES nothing short of a total bad boy. I remember the first time I met him. Yan and I were playing video games in the living room when he walked in, cigarette dangling from his lips. He was tall and imposing, with a strikingly handsome face. Yan immediately dropped her game controller and ran to greet him, while I scrambled to my feet. My voice dinged with nervousness. Hi, Brother Yin. His cold, piercing gaze swept over me, sending a sudden jolt of anxiety through my chest. He asked about our studies in a tone that felt both authoritative and slightly intimidating, leaving me utterly uncomfortable. As he stubbed out his cigarette, he leaned forward, lowering his voice to ask me quietly, "What about you? Have you got a boyfriend yet?" My cheeks burned with embarrassment, and I shook my head, saying no. Suddenly, he drew closer, his voice deepening into a low, husky whisper. "So, have you turned 18 yet?" Xiaoyan once mentioned that after Li Yin started working, he almost stopped setting foot in the main house. But since that day, he has been returning to the villa much more frequently, sometimes even taking a detour just to give us rides to and from school. On Li Yan's birthday party, Li Yan drove us to the KTV. Xiaoyan invited him in. And though HED initially wanted to decline, at my bold request, he finally pushed open the door and got out of the car. Not only was he handsome, but he also sang beautifully, so much so that the female classmates all gathered around him, striking up conversations. Yet when a senior student started chatting with me very closely, I felt uncomfortable. Before I knew it, Li Yan had quietly stepped to the side of the booth, looking down on the senior student with a piercing gaze. "What's there to talk about with a young girl? Come have a drink with me instead." With one long minus-legged stride, he squeezed himself into the gap between the sofa cushions, sitting right between me and the senior student, subtly shielding me from any further intrusion. After the senior student was thoroughly drunk, Li Yan turned his head and leaned closer to me, his body emitting a scent of alcohol mixed with cedar. "Zhao Tong," he said. "You." Before he could finish his sentence, Xiaoyan came over and handed him the cake. Li Yan said he didn't like sticky things, yet he passed the cake right in front of me. "Xiao Tong, you love eating this, don't you?" I took the cake, and suddenly he reached out and gently lifted my chin. His fingertips brushed against the corner of my lips, smearing a bit of cream there. Then he smiled and said, "Because you're so fair and beautiful, just like a freshly baked little cake." Midway through, Li Yin went to the restroom. I slipped out quietly, clutching a gift box, intending to give it to Zhao Yan, but then I ran into him in the hallway. He asked me if it was for him, and I hastily replied that it was for Xiao Yan. Suddenly, he stepped closer, pinning me against the corner of the wall. "What are you hiding from?" He leaned in, propping himself against the wall beside my ear with one hand. His breath mingled with the scent of alcohol. "I've given you everything already. How do you plan to repay me?" I was mortified and at a loss for words. Then, without warning, he lowered his head and said, "Just give your big brother a little kiss." I closed my eyes and pecked his cheek lightly, but instead of letting me go, he grabbed my waist and lifted me up, his thumb brushing gently across my lips. "No, not there," he murmured. Then he bent down and pressed his lips against many a fleeting, barely minus their touch before pulling away instantly. The next day, I already regretted it. All I could think about was Li Yin and that kiss, and I couldn't concentrate in class at all. I didn't dare to face him, so for the following weeks, I stopped going over to Xiao Yan's place. Then one day, Xiao Yan ran up to me holding a bag of sweets, saying her brother had bought them. I was taken aback. Your brother's here? Xiao Yan replied that HED been on a business trip, and these were just things HED picked up along the way. As I looked at all those delicious treats, each one exactly what I loved, I felt a tiny warmth spread through my heart. Xiao Yan said proudly, ever since you came along, my brother's completely changed. He has been getting nicer and nicer to me. You're really my lucky star. The school let out. A large crowd of students had gathered at the school gate, buzzing excitedly over a Maserati parked nearby. Leaning against the car was a man with broad shoulders and a narrow waist. Lian. He immediately crushed his cigarette butt underfoot, then pushed through the crowd and walked straight toward us. Brother, didn't you say you were going on a business trip? Xiao Yan asked in surprise. It got cancelled at the last minute, he replied softly, his gaze flickering briefly toward me before he said, Then, with gentlemanly courtesy, he opened the rear door. Get in. I sat stiffly in the back seat, while he casually held the steering wheel as if none of that night had ever happened. After we returned to the villa, Lian personally took charge of cooking and served up a table of dishes, almost all of which were my absolute favorites. After the meal, he surprisingly joined me and Xiao Yan for a little bit of gaming. Late into the night, I stayed overnight at Xiao Yan's place. Just as my consciousness was beginning to blur, the phone beside my pillow lit up. A friend request notification, bearing only 2 cold words, come downstairs. My heart skipped a beat. No need to guess who it was. Just how on earth did he get my WeChat number again? I pretended not to notice, but my phone lit up once more. Should your big brother go upstairs and invite you? Or would you rather come down yourself? I quickly passed the verification and shot back a reply. Got it. Brother Yin. Holding my breath, I carefully slipped out of bed and tiptoed down to the first-floor lobby. The room was pitch-black, and Li Yin leaned lazily against the sofa, his deep profile outlined by the moonlight. He flicked out the cigarette butt and reached out toward me with his finger, his gesture languid yet irresistibly commanding. Come here. He gently took hold of the fingers. It instinctively curled inward. Why are you hiding from me? I tried to pull my hand away, but he held it even tighter in his palm. You did this on purpose, didn't you? You tricked Xiao Yan into saying you were on a business trip. A low, soft chuckle escaped his throat. If that's how it is, does that mean I'll never see you again for the rest of my life? He turned his hand over and grasped my wrist, leading me to sit down beside him. Reaching out from his side, he carefully placed a velvet-lined gift box onto my knees. Brother has something to give you. The moment I lifted the lid of the box, the sheer delight left me almost speechless. Nestled quietly inside was none other than the Heart of the Ocean, the masterpiece by that Italian art master whom I cherished most. A smile gently spread at the corners of his eyes, and his voice was soft as he asked, Do you like it? Without thinking, I blurted out, I love it. He leaned closer to me, his breath warm against my skin, and softly said, Then, do you like Big Brother? I suddenly snapped back to reality, realizing how flustered I'd just been. Embarrassed, I glanced up at him, my cheeks burning hot all the way from my ears down to my neck. He took my hand in his warm fingertips lightly stroking the back of my hand, then asked again, Honey, answer me, do you like Big Brother? I looked at his delicate face, handsome, dashing, gentle, and considerate. With a man like Li Yin, I suppose there's hardly a girl who could resist his charm. Yet those 2 words were just so hard to utter. Li Yin's gaze was fixed on my face, slowly sliding inch by inch downward until it finally came to rest on a particular spot, his pupils darkening abruptly. I shuddered violently, suddenly remembering that I was wearing a bra. A wave of embarrassment exploded within me, and my body instinctively wanted to shrink back, but he suddenly tightened the grip of his hand, holding me firmly in place. His heavy breath brushed against my skin, carrying an almost scorching heat. Then, without warning, he lowered his head and pressed a soft kiss onto the back of my hand. As he raised his eyes again, I saw a deep, almost predatory darkness swirling in the depths of his gaze. If you don't say anything, brother will take that as your tacit consent. His palm cupped the back of my head, and his burning lips descended without a word, sweeping across me like a conquering army. With a slightly impatient gesture, he snatched up the pesky gift box and tossed it carelessly onto the coffee table. At the same time, he drew his arm in, effortlessly lifting me entirely onto his lap. The passionate kiss nearly stole my breath, and I instinctively reached out to press my hand against his shoulder. But he seized my wrist instead, guiding it around his neck, and then kissed me even deeper and more urgently. Come on. Swallow every last bit of my feeble resistance. As he felt my body completely surrender, a low, husky chuckle escaped his throat. Good girl, do you like this? Yin-ji, my throat tightened, and I couldn't utter a single word. Lian laid me down on the sofa and leaned over me. My whole body jolted violently, and I managed to force out a voice with great difficulty. Yin-ji, please don't. Xiaoyan is still upstairs. His eyes held a faint blush, his breath hot against my skin. Then shall brother take you to a hotel? As he spoke, his hands grew increasingly bold and unrestrained, while his other hand frantically began unbuttoning his shirt. The collar of his shirt parted, revealing bulging chest muscles. Warm lips followed closely, descending gently onto mine. No. Shame and panic surged through me in an instant, and tears finally broke free, streaming uncontrollably down my face. As Li Huayan's kiss lingered, his tongue suddenly tasted a faint saltiness. His body stiffened abruptly, his movements coming to an abrupt halt. The lustful glint in his eyes faded slightly, yet his gaze remained locked on mine. Filled with tender concern, did I scare you? My sobs could no longer be held back. They burst forth from my lips in broken fragments. His expression instantly turned tense, and the tips of his fingers still trembling with a hint of awkwardness, gently wiped away the tears from my cheeks. I'm such a jerk, he said softly, his voice tinged with worry. Sweetheart, don't cry. Lian lightly pressed a kiss onto my forehead, then carefully carried me back into the room. After that day, Lian and I started dating openly and without any embarrassment. He has been really kind to me, but we've both secretly kept it hidden from Xiaoyan. I'm a little scared. What if Xiaoyan finds out and blames me for stealing her brother away? One day, Xiaoyan quietly leaned in close to me and said, "My brother is going on a blind date today. What did you say?" I sat bolt upright, startled. Xiaoyan explained that Lian was supposed to be running an errand, that actually he was going on a blind date. I quickly grabbed my phone and sure enough, it showed a message Lian had sent half an hour earlier. Sweetie, I've got something to take care of tonight. You and Xiaoyan head home first. And remember to miss me. As I stared at the words on the screen and recalled what Xiaoyan had told me, I suddenly felt like I couldn't catch my breath. Looking back, it seems Lian really never made any promises to me. Most of the time we were together, he just asked me to help him with his little embarrassments. He never talked about the future with me, not even formally confessing his feelings. Did he ever intend to get married? But I'm still in school, so HES already found someone else. Then what exactly am I to him? I ducked into the restroom and called Lian. On the other end of the line, his gentle voice asked, "What's wrong?" Gil, what's wrong with me? My hands gripped the hem of my skirt tightly as I mustered up the courage and the shame to finally ask the question burning in my heart, "Will you marry me?" There was a pause on the other end, then a soft chuckle. What kind of silly things are you saying? What's gotten into you today? Just then, a woman's voice drifted over softly. Yin, there's an empty seat over there. Let's go. At that, Yin clearly straightened his tone, his usually seductive voice now calm and composed. I'm out here handling some business. Is there something important? Why don't we talk about it when I get back? Then he said, "My little sister," and hung up the phone. Before I knew it, it hung up the phone and sat there in a daze for a long time. Then I blocked Li Yin's phone number. After school, I went home and pretended to be sick, asking my mom to get me a few days off. I never saw Li Yin again. At night, after taking a shower, I got into bed early and squeezed my eyes shut tight, trying hard not to think about him. But the more I tried not to think about him, the more he filled my mind. Li Yin, I hate you, you big jerk, you disgusting creep, I raged, furious and embarrassed, yelling at the empty air. What did I ever do wrong, suddenly? A cold voice startled me so badly that I shot straight up in bed. I turned toward the sound, and there, standing by my window, was none other than Li Yin himself. How did I end up here? He said, stepping closer to me with a shadowy, unreadable expression. Since my sweetie refuses to see me, your big brother had no choice but to find a way to see you anyway. I didn't dare make much noise, pouting and turning my head away so I wouldn't have to look at him. He suddenly yanked the blanket off me, dropped to his knees between my legs, and firmly lifted my face. Why are you hiding from me again, brother? Speak. I burst into tears with a little yelp, startled by his intense demeanor. Instantly, his voice softened. All right, big brother was wrong. But could you please tell big brother where he went wrong? He pulled me into his arms and gently ran his fingers through my hair. I've been going crazy not being able to see you. Get away from me. I don't want you. Didn't you go on a blind date? Why are you still coming to see me? I struggled, punching his chest, but he firmly held my wrist. He adjusted his posture and looked straight into my eyes. Is it because of that? He burst into laughter, his bright eyes fixed on mine. That's the daughter of my dad's childhood friend. He took it upon himself to arrange for her to meet me. She had already made plans, and he only told me about it at the last minute. It would have been awkward to just leave her hanging. Don't worry. I've already talked to that girl. I have no romantic interest in her. He gently tapped my nose. It all happened so suddenly. I didn't have time to explain things clearly to you. I said in a low voice, and then you still said you didn't ever marry me. He paused for a moment, then smiled softly as he recalled the words. What I meant was, you're talking nonsense. If I'm not going to marry you, who else would I marry? He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket and, with a flick of his long fingers, opened it to reveal a dazzling diamond ring. His warm, broad palm gently took mine, and his long eyelashes fluttered slightly as he whispered, I've been ready for this all along. Actually, I'd been planning to put it on your finger when I proposed. His slender knuckles traced the palm of my hand, and his gaze moved from the ring to my eyes. Is it okay, baby? I was about to drown in the depth of his gaze. Engage. I am willing. Li Yin slipped the ring onto my finger. Even though he'd always been so composed and confident in everything he did, his hand was trembling ever so slightly. He kissed me, his seductive voice whispering softly in my ear, good girl, is it okay? I knew exactly what he meant. My body instantly grew hot, and I could feel my blood rushing to my cheeks. Seeing how I looked, he gave me a wicked grin and said, honey, aim carefully, just sit down yourself. The next day, Li Yin paid a very elaborate visit to my parents, bringing with him a lavish gift. His father, full of enthusiasm, took my bewildered parents by the hand and began discussing our engagement. Li Yin said he couldn't wait any longer, but I knew right away that he was being too hasty. Sure enough, afterward, my parents grilled me about it, accusing me of secretly dating without telling them. Still, they were genuinely impressed with Li Yin. There was simply nothing to criticize about him. Xiao Yan stared at us both with wide Midas open eyes. I knew it. Why did my brother suddenly change his ways? One minute he's picking me up and dropping me off from school, the next day he's taking me out to play. Turns out it was all just a hit on you. Xiao Tan, who would have thought I was just a third wheel? Fine. Brother, you're really becoming a real beast. Try saying one more word. This is a story about how the big bad guy older brother gradually wins over his younger sister's best friend, the little white rabbit. From his initial use and probing to his later deep affection and possessiveness, Li Yin's character arc is intensely compelling. Through the plot device of a misunderstood blind date, the story breaks the ambiguous, unofficial relationship between the two characters. Ultimately, the story concludes with a marriage proposal and family approval, marking a complete ethical transition from taboo to legitimacy.